What's up, folks? It's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to another Indie Showcase. This is the second of two videos I said I was going to do this week focused on shmups. And yes, indeed, we took a look at Rigid Force Redux recently, which was an entry in what I call the Euro shmup genre, which is a genre I think I just made up in my head. And this is another new game, yes indeed it is new, called DreadStar. This is for the PC, and this is what I call an entry in the DOS shmup genre, if you will. DOS shmup genre? Yes, indeed. Sound like Sean Connery there. So I'm going to explain what I mean by that in a little bit, but we're going to kick into a level here right away so that I can show you guys what it looks like. So, like I said in the last video, what most people tend to think of when they think of shmups are the Japanese arcade-style shmups. And ain't nothing wrong with those, don't get me wrong, I love those. But there are other sort of genres or subgenres of shoot-em-ups out there that a lot of people didn't necessarily consider or even really know about at the time. Now, the thing with most of the older school shmups, especially the classic ones, is they were originally arcade games, and that means that they were relatively short, but incredibly difficult, and designed to get people to feed a lot of quarters into a machine, right? Well, on home computers, you couldn't really do that, because the games cost a lot more, and you couldn't have a game that you could, you know, start button your way through in 5 minutes on a home computer. Well, okay, not 5 minutes, but you know what I'm talking about. The games had to be meatier. They had to have more content. They had to last longer to justify that higher price tag because they were something that people were going to keep around for a long time. And that's what this sort of home computer shmup idea was. When I talk about that, I talk about games like Raptor or Tyrion, which are sort of well-known classics. And the way they achieved that longevity was by making a shmup that also had, really for lack of a better term, RPG elements in it. There was a little bit of a story in some cases, but it was mostly, you know, revolving around buying upgrades, changing statistics, really modifying your ship and what it was capable of in order to, basically in order to pad out the game and to convince you to, and I say pad out the game, that's not really a derogatory term. I'm saying, like, to extend the game's length, I should say. Padding it out makes it sound like that was done just as a, you know, a cheap way to keep your attention. But the idea was that it kept the game going longer, and it encouraged you to play what were often a small handful of levels over and over again, because you were grinding effectively, just like you would in a lot of action RPGs of this day and age. And DreadStar is very much a game that falls into that genre. And so I jumped right into a level here, but I'll give you a bit more of a tour of some of its other elements here once we've done this. So you can see here very clearly we're taking out a lot of enemies here. There are preset patterns. Every level does have 3 difficulties, and that does change the enemy patterns, and in particular changes the statistics of the enemies you're fighting. But this is a game that, like a lot of shmups, the patterns are largely predetermined, and if you put in the time and effort, you can memorize your way through it and sort of min-max your runs. That is definitely, for the most part, how they work. Now, you can see here at the bottom that every level has a score, and that you also have gems. The score, I mean, there is a high score system in this, but it doesn't play into things very much. If this had leaderboards or some more meaningful way to track your scores, that would have been really, really cool. It doesn't really. The main thing that you're going for in this, much like in a game like Raptor, is gems, which is effectively this game's currency. Because you're going to be spending that to buy upgrades for your ship, of which there are a decent amount. Maybe not as many as I would have liked to see, but we'll go into that. Now, I've been playing this for a little bit, so I am running a ship that is quite a bit better than the stock one. So playing the first level here on the lowest difficulty is generally kind of a pushover, though I've been screwing it up a little bit here. So you have a primary weapon that you can shoot like this, which is a little bit weaker, but as you can see, doesn't charge up that heat meter. And you have a secondary weapon, which you can fire at the same time if you want, but which does charge up that heat meter. And if you overheat, that secondary weapon gets disabled for a while. Fairly standard stuff, you know. There's also special items that you can buy and use. There are shields that you can buy and use that extend your life. You only get 1 life per level. But as you can see, there's a meter down there, and that you lose one of those pips every time you take a hit. Now, what's interesting about this is that if you die, you respawn, and you respawn back at the menu, I should say. So you fail the level, and you get nothing out of it. You get no rewards, no anything like that. But what you can do, and I'll show you this, actually, is that in the middle of any level, you can choose to bail out. And if you do that, so I'll show you what you do here. So you get into a level and say things aren't going well. Well, you hit a button. Now you have to stay alive for a few seconds and you can't move. So if you try to bail out and bullets are coming right at you, well, you might get screwed. So you got to be careful with that. Now what happens is when you do that is you get out of the level, you keep what you've earned so far, but you don't complete the level, you don't get the end of level bonus, and any damage that your ship sustained remains sustained, which is exactly the same as if you beat the level as well. So you see I have some hull damage here, right? So the way you deal with that is you go to Redbeard's Burrow, which is sort of the shop area. And here you are. And when you're in here, you can spend money to repair your ship. It's not super expensive. It's generally, I've never found myself in a position where I'm hosed and I can't at least get myself back and up and repaired. And then you can buy and sell upgrades. So you have shield modules. And like I said, there's some stuff in here, but I do wish there was more. I don't know if you unlock more later because I don't know of any category that actually fills up this menu here, which is kind of a bummer. But so maybe more stuff gets unlocked later, I'm not sure. But you can buy different hulls, so you see you can only use shields and specials on certain kinds of ships. So you can buy those, you have armors, you have special weapons. I currently don't have a hull that allows me to use any of these, so I don't have those at this moment. Shield upgrades, engine upgrades, which obviously makes you move faster, primary weapons, which is also handy. Gives you a little preview of the fire pattern over here, which is kind of cool. And of course you can sell anything that you have. I have never picked up any random equipment while playing a mission, so I think this is only to sell stuff that you swapped out, because depending on the mission as well, you may want to change your weapons and ships and that in and out, right, to better suit the situation. So it might be worth keeping some stuff hanging around. The interface in this is not the most intuitive thing in the world. I especially do wish it had a bit of a comparison for what you've already got in your that you have equipped in your ship already. There's no real way to do that beyond going back out here and then going in here and looking at your stats. A straight like one-to-one comparison would certainly be nice. But then you see you get yourself all fixed up, and then by playing levels as well, you earn stat upgrades. Pretty obvious what these do. Main weapon, I said, is that little one. The left and right weapons are the secondaries that you can equip. You can have two different weapons if you like. And then you have your shield upgrades, and you will earn more of these as you go just by killing enemies and getting experience. Obviously, the grind gets real after a certain period of time. And then when you beat a mission, you unlock the next one. So I haven't unlocked these last two sectors yet, and they do get challenging after a while for sure. And then each mission has 3 different difficulties. You only unlock the base difficulty at first. You got to beat it to unlock hard. You got to beat it to unlock brutal. They get harder, obviously, but the rewards are a lot better. And you see there is a high score for the level, but that's the extent of the high scoring system in this. I do wish it had either leaderboards or something a little more involved than that. But it's, again, nice that it's there, right? So let's pick this one here. This is the Aldebaran sector. So yeah, you can see this game has pretty interesting pixel art and very sort of DOS tracker style music, I guess. This very much feels like a game that could have come out in the mid to late 90s on a DOS machine, which honestly, I love stuff from that era. Raptor, Call of Shadows, and Tyrion are still 2 fantastic shmups. Still some of my favorites, period. Definitely some of the best that has ever come out on a computer before. So, you know, I think he did a really good job. Augmented Irreality, I believe, is just a one-man dev. So he did a really good job on nailing the production values. It's very clear to me that this is what he was aiming for, was to pay homage to that sort of interesting era of the home computer subgenre of shmups. You can see as well that by killing enemies in rapid succession, there is a combo meter as well, things like that. So there's ways to min-max your score, and by also increasing that, the enemies will drop more gems. So you get a certain amount of gems just for beating the level, but enemies will also drop them, and if you get near them, you vacuum them towards you. That's more money in your pocket, you know. Pretty standard fare in that regard. This level is a little bit interesting because it's mostly... Some of the levels have mid-bosses, some of them don't. This level is basically just fighting your way through this asteroid field, which actually is harder than it might seem. And then there's a mid-boss. A boss at the end of it, and that's it. So this is a little bit shorter than some of the other levels. So you see... He's going to show up here in a minute. The bosses are all very different looking and very unique. They all have their own attack patterns. They all have different ways of going about them. Like, look at this thing. Like, his name is Old Ruins, right? And they have multiple phases and things like that. And on the higher difficulties, no pushover. Like, this is looking easy here because I'm on the lower difficulty. But it does pick up after a certain point as well because, well, you're going to see here. Yeah. So, again, it ain't nothing. So, and again, you've got to min-max your greed factor, right? Do you want to hold on to get to the end of the level to get the bonus? Or and are you going to risk getting yourself blowed up? Or are you going to, like this, so I'm down to my last bit of life, right? Am I going to do that? Or do I want to bail out here, take what I've got, have to repair my ship, and then get back to it? Well, that's going to depend, right? I mean, I know what I'm going to do here, but especially because of the fact that if you do die when you come out of the level, well, that's it, see, I lost. A neat little animation of you waking up sort of from your cryo healing here. Now, I will say that coming out of it, completely unscathed like that with no penalty whatsoever seems a little weird. And I guess it kind of is, but I don't really know a better way you could have pulled it off, to be honest with you. Simply because, like, you've got to... You have to give the player the ability to go right back in, right? Without having to constantly repair their ship and running themselves out of money. But... yeah, I don't know how you could have done better with that. Maybe you couldn't have. I don't know. It just feels a little weird that when you completely die, you come back with a squeaky clean ship, you're fully healed, no financial penalty, nothing. But if you stuck around in that mission and I bailed out when I got down to 1 hit point, I would have had a whole bunch of damage, but I guess I would have taken all the money I'd earned up to that point in that level. So yeah, I suppose it's a fair trade-off. I don't know why, it just feels a little bit weird to me. I will say that at least in the early versions of this game, though, maybe he's fixed it because it hasn't been happening in my recording here. So I'm playing with an Xbox One controller. You can play this game with a keyboard and mouse. You may have seen how the cursor was tracking kind of slowly. It kind of emulates a mouse. There's a couple of oddities with that, one of which has not been fixed, which is that there's a couple of screens, like, for example, the screen when you actually finish a mission and it's showing victory and what you got, you can't click out of that with the keyboard, or, with the controller. You have to grab the mouse and use it. So if you were, like, playing this on your couch through, say, a Steam Link or an NVIDIA Shield, and you didn't have a keyboard or a mouse nearby, you're kind of screwed. Whereas it works in every other menu. That, I'm sure, is just an oversight, but I really hope he does fix that soon, because it kind of makes couch play for this game kind of a pain in the butt. Also, I was having a major problem sometimes where randomly when I was playing, but in particular, I think when I was using both weapons, my ship would just lose the ability to move on one axis, typically side to side, but occasionally up and down. And multiple times I took damage or even got killed because of that, because the game, and it wasn't due to anything I was doing. Like, I wasn't overheating the weapons, I wasn't doing anything else like that. It seemed totally random. I was actually chatting with the dev about that in the Steam forums, and he said he hadn't run into that, and he said, yeah, the Xbox One controller should work fine, but he said, I have a dead zone update, or an update coming for the game that adds the ability to manually specify a dead zone. I've never had that problem with any other game, but also this Xbox One controller is well used, shall we say, so it's entirely possible there may have been something with that, but I never set that option. I don't even know if the patch is out yet, and it seems to be working fine now, so maybe a Windows update fixed it or something, I don't know, but I'm happy to see that anyway. If you could fix that one little menu glitch that prevents you from progressing without, unless you use the mouse, then that would be super awesome. But other than that, I don't really have any complaints. This is an old school shmup with some old school mechanics to it, and it's paying homage to a very specific subgenre of it that a lot of people have just never played ever. If you weren't one into shmups and two a home computer gamer, principally, back when this type of thing was popular, then you may not have experienced this kind of game. But it's a really neat twist on it because it has all the trappings of traditional shmups that people really, really like, but it adds some of these neat RPG elements that make playing it over again for something other than just maximizing score a compelling offering. It gives you that itch, that grind. It satisfies that grinding itch that people love out of games like Diablo or Genshin Impact or any of those types of action RPG type titles. Or even something like Destiny. Obviously, it's not that deep, but it gives you that itch to on how to be able to replay stuff to get more equipment. and just to better yourself and to have the satisfaction, pride and accomplishment, if you will, lols, of just building up a better ship and watching yourself tear through levels that were previously very challenging for you. I like that myself. I find that a really interesting way to approach a game like this. And it took the innovation of the home computer space back in the day in order to do that. Because like I said, if you wanted to make a shmup on a computer, that was how you had to do it. Because just reproducing the traditional arcade style on a home computer didn't really fly with most people. There were games like that, but it wasn't the big path to success in the home computer era. But people came up with some innovative ideas for it. So yeah, this is a very good first effort. This is a rookie developer, and very good first effort from him, I think. You know, other than a little quirk here and there, I think this is a very solid experience, and I think it's reasonably priced for what you get. And if you're into shmups and you're into that loot grind a little bit, then this would certainly do you well, I think. And I am very happy to see the shmup genre making a comeback in the indie game space. You know, it was pretty barren there for a while, and now we're starting to see not only new shmups coming from smaller devs, but we're starting to see, a lot of the formerly, a lot of the great Japanese shmups that were only available in arcades or certain home consoles back in the day are now starting to make appearance on PC, because people on PC like this stuff and they will step up for it. And makes me really happy as a guy who, like I said, is not good at this genre, but still loves it, and still loves the, I think what I like about the shmup genre is the same thing I like about pinball. Dead easy to learn. I can take, my lady friend who's barely ever played games, put a controller in front of her with this and say, move around, press this button to shoot this button to shoot this gun, go, and she'll know what she's doing within seconds. But getting really good at this takes a lot of practice. It's something even experienced players like me need to put a lot of work into. Few genres are this accessible but deep at the same time, and I really like how they did that here. So, yeah, that is DreadStar, developed and published by Augmented Irreality. Yeah, it's out on the PC now. I really like it. If you're into shmups and you want to support the cause, go give this a look. Or even if you're not, even if you're traditionally not into shmups, but maybe kind of like the idea of a little bit of the stack grind with this one, go give it a look. I've been enjoying it a lot, and I'm very happy that I tripped over this one on Keymailer, because I might have missed it otherwise, and that would have been a damn shame. So, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate it. As always, if you like what you saw here, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell, hit the thumbs up, and leave a comment down below. Tell me not only what you think about this, but again, like I said with Rigid Force Redux, if there's other games of this genre that are out now on PC or modern consoles that you think I'd like and I haven't talked about, let me know, because I'm always looking for more stuff like this. I really enjoy this kind of thing, and they're easy to miss, so I'd really like to find out more about that. And as always, you can tune in and follow over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction, where I'm doing multiple variety streams a week of all kinds of stuff like this and more. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of Indie Showcase. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take it easy.